Hello again, everyone. My name is Larry Loucks, SE here at Vizioncore. And in this series of videos, we've been discussing how virtualization impacts system administration. In this particular section, we're going to talk about storage. So as we look at the traditional server model, where we have an operating system running on hardware, one OS only typically, and we have applications and data out there, usually this is tied in with some kind of internal or back-end fixed amount of storage. I may have a mirrored pair of 146 gig drives or a RAID 5 array encompassing a few drives out there, or maybe have it pointing to a LUN on the SAN. But the storage management in terms of I/O and amount that we use is fairly straightforward, right? I'm limited on this server by the amount of internal disks or by the amount that I've assigned to the LUN at the back end. So if I ever exceed this amount of disk space, and obviously I need to buy bigger drives, maybe expand the array if it's internal storage, or if it's back on a LUN, maybe extend the LUN or create a new larger LUN and migrate the data over. As we look at throughput to the back end storage, again, fairly straightforward, right? We have a single disk subsystem. Maybe I'm using an internal SCSI adapter to get to the disks. Maybe I'm using an HBA to get back to fiber channel storage, or my network for some IP-based storage. But again, it's fairly easy to go in and look and see what utilization levels are. Single server, single path, single storage destination at the back end. Now let's take a look at the virtual environment. So here on the virtual side of the house, now we have several virtual machines, and we'll say that these are all running on this particular ESX server here. And we have some type of storage in the environment. Now this storage could be internal storage in the ESX server. It could be IP-based storage, or we could have an HBA in there connecting us back to some fiber channel storage in the infrastructure. So with this new model, management of this new environment changes for a lot of reasons. First of all, in terms of throughput. If I have 10, 20, 30 VMs out here on this ESX server and a single channel back to this disk subsystem, it becomes much more critical to monitor this, because whereas a traditional server, the vast majority of them is going to have a hard time maxing out a contemporary HBA in a fiber channel environment. We start adding 20, 30 virtual machines to an ESX environment, and you can suddenly start getting maxed out there on your throughput. So we want to monitor that. We also want to concern ourselves with failover, because now the failure of a single HBA could potentially bring down 20 or 30 VMs at the same time. Obviously not desirable. And in terms of disk space, with the physical server environment, the non-virtual servers, we don't really assign space, we buy drives, right? And we're limited in the space that's available by what is available on those disks or what we've assigned to the LUNs. But that all changes when you virtualize, because now virtual machines refer to VMDK files or virtual machine disk files, and all the files that encompass that VM or that make up that VM are encapsulated in that single file. And it's up to us as administrators to assign values to those VMDKs. So let's imagine we have a small 25 gig Exchange server, it's not virtualized, and we decide one day that we'd like to virtualize it. So the question comes up, how much disk space do we assign to this VM? And the reality is, we don't know. We don't know how many service packs Microsoft's going to come out with in the next couple of years, how many security updates are going to come out. We don't know how many emails are going to come in, and we don't know how many attachments they're going to have. So there's a lot of variables there. Yes, if we're very familiar with the environment, we might be able to make a ballpark guess, but that becomes increasingly difficult when you have scores or hundreds of servers. So what we're forced to do as administrators in the environment is to guess some amount. Now, what most administrators do today in the virtual part of the IT industry is they over-allocate storage, and they guess some amount that will keep them good to go for the next couple of years. So maybe with that 25 gig Exchange server, I might assign a 75 gig or 100 gig drive to that just to make sure I've got plenty of space to grow. One thing for certain, we wouldn't take a server like that and assign a 30 gig drive so it'll run out of disk space in 4 weeks and create a big fire drill in the IT department one day. So these are all totally new aspects of managing storage in the virtual environment. The other thing is this: when you build your ESX servers, if you have internal storage, that is the drives are inside the ESX servers, you lose the ability to do some of the cooler things with VMware. HA, high availability, where VMs automatically restart in the event of a failure. DRS, or distributed resource schedule, where we can move VMs around in response to load, right? Effectively load balancing the VMs. Those things require back-end storage. So as we do that, as we move to a back-end approach to storage, where we have iSCSI, NAS, or fiber channel storage in the environment, well, then we have, of course, additional considerations. Right? How are we going to divide our LUNs? How big should the LUNs be? How many VMs should we reside in a single LUN? Should we use a single LUN for a disk I/O intensive VMs? These are all things that are brand new to the virtual environment. And getting back to our subject of how virtualization affects systems administration, this is a big point of interest. So hopefully this gives you some illumination as to how virtualization will affect the way that you manage storage in your environment. We've got a great product at Vizioncore called vOptimizer Pro that will help you automate a lot of this process and take out a lot of the guesswork and for most of our customers allow you to radically reduce the amount of disk space that your VMs use. Well, everyone, my name is Larry Loucks. Thanks so much for taking some time to check these videos out. Hopefully we've provided some really good information about how virtualization will change system administration in your environment. Now, at our website at Vizioncore.com, you can learn about some great products that will assist you in managing all this, give you much improved visibility into your virtual environment, and help you to have a more successful virtualization project. Also, make sure that you check out the webinar archive and our live events, where you can see deep dives and demonstrations of all of these products. It's a really easy way to quickly ramp up on these things. Once again, my name is Larry Loucks. Thanks so much for your time. You guys have a great week.